Hello, gorgeous. You're listening to the Girlfriend's Guide to Starting Over. On this podcast, we talk about everything from dating and relationships to personal development. We also speak very candidly about the F word, and by that, I mean failure. So grab a pen, tag a friend, and let's talk about it. All of it. Undergoing, overcoming, and simply trying to make it through. Are we live? I think we are. Hello, gorgeous. Happy Wisdom Wednesday, and welcome back to my platform. I am so excited that you are here. If I'm 100% honest, I honestly had no idea what I was going to talk about today. I really had to pray about it because I'm like, God, what am I supposed to say? What am I supposed to do? If you know me, then you will know that for the last 2.5 years, I've been hopping online every single Wednesday morning to give you a quick little nugget to enhance your life right away. Like that used to be my tagline every single week. It started out with me like making my morning coffee and doing a 3-minute video just with a little bit of motivation to get people over the hump into the weekend. If you remember when I used to do Wisdom Wednesday like that, if that's how you started with me, drop OG down in the comments, right? But over the course of the last 2.5 years, things have changed. Things have grown. The dynamic is different. I stepped into my purpose as a coach. I started owning my role as a mentor and taking up the space that was designed and created for me on the internet. And now I have all these people. So it's like, hey, y'all. And I feel like occasionally it's my job to reintroduce myself. It's not your job to know what I do or who I am or why I keep showing up. It's my job to remind you, right? So if you're just coming into my community, I'm Kayla Simmons. I'm the main character coach, and I teach women to step into their main character energy and become that main character of their life, to own their role as who they are. And I recognize that may leave a bad taste in people's mouths. Because just like this year, y'all learned the word demure. A couple of years ago, you learned the word narcissist and people just run with it. And so it's important for me to explain that when I say main character, I'm not being self-serving, and I don't mean only character. But a main character of a TV show, regardless of what's happening around them, it all comes back to them. Their needs, their desires, where they want to go. The show must go on, right? And in reality, that's how life is for us. No matter how many times the sky falls, we have to keep living. And we don't have to live in misery. We don't have to live by somebody else's scripts. We don't have to make all of our decisions based on what our parents did or our friends did. Or it is an opportunity for you to learn that you get a say-so in your life. And this is so important to me because I spent the first 30 plus years of my life living by someone else's script. I said earlier this year that every major decision before the age of 33, 34, I made based on somebody else's desires, somebody else's wishes, what was best for someone else. Who does that? I did. And I know that many of you right now are like me. I did that. And so I teach people to unlearn that, to unlearn this idea of I have to do what's best for everybody else. Because if you are constantly caretaking for everybody else, who takes care of you? If you're constantly doing what other people want, when do you get to do what you want? When do you even discover what you want, right? So that's why I get so fired up about it. That's why I'm so passionate about it. It's why I keep showing up. So the title of this video is Sometimes God Ruins Your Plans so your plans don't ruin you. And I want you to see, you see me showing up. I'm confident. I'm having fun. I'm optimistic. I get DMs all the time. Kayla, you are so positive. You are so optimistic. What my favorite one to get is, girl, you're not just living, you are thriving. This platform, this following, this community that I have curated is the direct result of God ruining my plans. This was never in my plan. Never in a million years did I think that I would be doing this and growing this, but it's my purpose. It's my calling. So if you don't know, sorry, my nose itches. It always itches. When I was 21, I met my ex-husband. We were married by the time I was 24. By the time I was 25, his nephews were living with us, and we adopted them by the time I was 26. We were divorced by the time I was 27. And so overnight, I went from no kids to single mom of two, right? And I was divorced. If you had told me that was going to be my life when I was in high school, I probably would have laughed if I didn't punch you in the face, right? Because it was like, no, not me. If y'all know me, you know I'm from this little bitty tiny factory town, right? Like it's a merry-go-round town. You go to school, you go into agriculture, community college, you go work at the bank. Like that's just life. You get married, you have kids, and you live happily ever after. So like I was a habitual box checker. Any box checkers in the house, like drop box checker down below. So I was checking all my boxes. I was going to school. I was finding a man. I got married, I adopt the kids, keep the family together, do all the things. And I was still miserable when I looked around because I wasn't making decisions based on me. I was doing things so that my parents weren't disappointed. Anybody hear me? I was doing things so that I could get promotions at work because that's what you're supposed to do. You work hard, you do the thing, you learn the skill, you master the skill, you get a promotion. Anybody else understand, right? Like I did not want to be viewed from the outside as someone who was difficult, as someone who was a boat rocker, as someone who didn't have it all together. I felt like there was something wrong with me. If you had told me that I would be like knocking down the door of 38 and not married, no picket fence, like all of these things, I'd have been like, whose life are you predicting? Now, I realize now that all of these things happened to me so that I could lead the way for other people. My mess became my message. I say all the time, like God made a mosaic out of the mess that I had made for myself. But I had to be open. I had to be vulnerable, and I had to allow him to come in and do that. And I'm going to be honest, sis, that wasn't easy. Let's skip to 2019, because in 2019, y'all, I was sitting on top of the world, or so I thought. I had divorced. Had met a new guy. We were together for like 5.5 years. We had gotten engaged. Me and him and my children lived in a beautiful home. I had a relatively new car. I'd just gotten my master's degree, right? Just gotten a promotion at work. I remember one of the doctors in the office said to me, I need to stay close to you because you are favored. You are lucky. Every couple of months, something amazing happens to you. And I said to him, favor ain't fair. God don't play about me. I remember saying that. And it was like, I don't know. It was like all of a sudden the universe was like, oh, really? And suddenly things started falling apart one at a time. My kids started acting like it was awful. It was so bad that I had to move them out of my house, displace them into their father's house for my safety and for their safety. Okay. It was really, really bad. And then my fiance at the time developed a seizure disorder for which he was not compliant or cooperative with his medications and treatment. He totaled like 4 cars in the course of a year. And I'm like, I am a professional. I cannot marry you and you are out here tearing up people's vehicles, flipping cars over, like just would not listen. And it led to me sitting in the middle of my living room floor like, I am not happy. Like I am parenting all of these different people. I am an Uber driver. I am like the nurse. I am like working full time. I was like finishing up my internship. Like all of these things were happening. And I was so frazzled. My nervous system was wrecked. And so finally I was like, I can't do this. Like I can't do this. And so I moved out. I was like, no, we're done. And so I remember all of this is like a blur to me because I was just going through the motions. Okay. So I moved into this apartment that's the size of a kid's shoebox. I had like a box of crystals. I had my books. I had incense. And 2 days after I moved into my new apartment, my dog got hit by a car. Now, spiritually, I look back and I'm like, that was the last thing tethering me to that previous man was this dog that we shared together, right? So it's like things had to happen. Now, would I have wanted that to happen? No, but things had to happen so that God's plan for my life could fall into place. I remember just going to work, coming home and drinking until I fell asleep. And then I would wake up and I would do it again. It's like, okay, red line. This is what I'm going to do. And somewhere in the midst of all that, I heard God say, you asked for this. And I'm like, what? You asked for this. And I'm thinking, why would I have asked for my engagement to fall apart, for my kids to not be with me, for me to be like in a shoebox size apartment. Like, no, I didn't. I would have never asked for any of this. And God brought back to my memory a prayer that I had been praying probably for 2020, 2021, or it would have been before that. So 2018, 2019, because, you know, when you're in a long-term relationship, you are like willing yourself into marriage. This is what you want if you want marriage. And I was raised to be marriage minded. And at that point in life, it defined me. And hello, somebody. If somebody is waiting on the raindrop, rain below, right? I'm in a different headspace now. But at that time, I didn't understand why I wasn't good enough. Why, no matter how perfect things were, like, why don't you want to spend time with me? I felt like I was begging for the basic things. And it's like, Kayla, this version of Kayla is like, girl, you are so lucky that thing did not work out. How many people out there have thought you wanted something and you realize now that what didn't work out for you actually worked out for you? That's my life right now, okay? So I remember God saying, you asked for this, and I had started praying a prayer, 2018, 2019, and I would say, God, if there's anything that is not in your will from me, remove it, and let me be at peace with its departure. If there's anything in your will, or that's not in your will, remove it from me, and let me be at peace with its departure. Y'all, when I tell you he brought the house down, the world came crashing down around me. Nothing in my life at this moment is the way that it was in 2019, in 2018, in 2017. Nothing. I don't have a single relationship that remains in the place that it was. He shifted my entire center, my entire core. And then he gave me back everything tenfold. He gave me back that which the locust had eaten, right? And it was because I allowed it. But in that moment, I thought, you are crazy. But then I realized, okay, you're doing this, Lord, for me. This is happening for me, not to me. Anybody out there where you've had something happen for you, but not to you, but in the moment you didn't know, right? And so it took me a while. It took therapy. It took coaching. It took working with somebody one-on-one. It took doing it scared to realize that, I wasn't as put together as I thought I was. I wasn't the baddie that I thought I was. I was emotionally dysregulated. I set really poor boundaries. I had really high and unrealistic expectations for people. And I applied a lot of pressure under the guise of love. Yeah. And it didn't make me a bad person. It's just who I was in the moment. And so I started this process of falling in love with myself and loving myself exactly as I was. And then I learned to love myself enough to grow. And that's why I do what I do. I teach women that the way that you have lived does not have to be your story. It does not have to be your narrative. The way that your mother lived, your auntie lived, your granny lived, that does not have to be your story. You don't have to keep walking the path that you have walked before. When you realize that something is wrong, you get to change it. When you realize that something doesn't align, you get to change it. And if we don't make the necessary changes, our life starts crashing around us or crashing down around us so that we're forced to make changes. I would prefer to choose. If I had it to do over again, I'd be like, you know what? That's probably not for me. I would have tapped in with myself more. I don't say that I have necessarily any regrets, but I do wish that I had known myself and loved myself a little bit more so that I could have weighed the outcomes and the potential of the choices that I was making in the moment. So that's my story. Things are well. I love my job. I love being a coach. My kids and I have excellent relationships. We work through things like any other. If you are a teen mom, drop down below, pray for me. Let's start a prayer train, right? So we have those sort of relationships, and I'm in the healthiest and happiest romantic relationship that I've ever been in. And had I gave resistance, had I stayed where I was and got what I thought I wanted, none of this magic that is happening around me would have happened. And so that's why I show up. That's who I am. That's my story. If you've been wondering, like, who is this girl? I did not get here overnight. This has been years in the making. And because I've done it, right? Because I have gone through the fire, because I've made the mistakes, because I've connected the dots and I have learned so much, I feel like it's my duty, it's my moral responsibility to pass that message on. Now, if you're thinking, oh, girl, you are barely 38, you don't know, I don't have to have stood in your shoes. I have an associate's degree and a bachelor's degree in psychology, a master's in social work. I have 15 years of clinical experience in the office, and then I have 2 professional coaching certifications. I have met someone or worked through something that somebody has a situation just like you. And if I haven't, I can still coach you through your choices and call you up into your highest potential. So if it's coaching that you're interested in, if it's just being a part of my community, if it's like, Kayla, reach out to me. You do not have to do this alone. And I wish you wouldn't. DM coach, drop coach below if you're interested. Let's chat. But that's who I am. That's what I do. I hope that you enjoy this community. And if you need anything, don't hesitate to reach out. I love you, girl. We'll chat in the next one.